elements and components of the project. Then, by November of 2008, work commenced. And of course, by December of 2008, Mortepool was actually awarded a contract to build 2 components of the pool. And that's the basin of the pool itself, of course, to Olympic standard, and the filtration room and tanks, supervising the base for the pool basin. Once Mortepool was contracted, come 2008 February, work commenced in pre-engineering the pool, getting it manufactured and all of that. And by April of 2008, Mortepool was on the ground, ready to install. However, knowing some of our local contractors, maybe lacking the expertise, maybe not fully aware of the magnitude of this project, obviously challenging its capacity to deliver on time, that held back the project for over 7 months or so. Mortepool was ready to install and disappeared in 2 months. Instead, in October of 2008, they were still playing around with what the finished base should be like. And it was not until October in 2009 that all of the components that were actually planned for in the first phase of this project was actually completed. So let me tell you, by 2010, in September of last year, this pool was ready functionally. I said earlier, this was a vision of His Excellency. And after touring, doing his own site visit, of course, being the chief person responsible for the oversight of this project, he thought that there should be included a number of components to bring this pool up to international standard and to a point where it's fully functional. And a new scope of work, in fact, 7 lots of new works actually were designed, including the parking lot, the landfilling, and of course, landscape. Some elements of changing the mound to what is now a new stand. And of course, that took us a little time, putting in an internal roadway that would allow us to drive all the way through to the tank, the balance tank room. And so, I'm saying to you, at this point in time, we are now satisfied that we're ready to add to our stock of sports inventory. Our international facilities are now growing. And like Mr. Kumar would have said earlier, to add to what is a world-class stadium, a squash court, the only one of its kind, public squash court that is, in the Caribbean. We're now ready to add to the public and Guyanese Olympic-sized swimming pool. Of course, let me commend all those of you who would have been involved. Let me commend the hard work and quality leadership of the Minister himself for giving us clear directions, of course, and very detailed reviews every now and then to bring this pool to where it's at right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, PS. And I can assure all of you, the Department Secretary was very thorough, working, keeping the notes, and following up with the work so that we could reach here today. Friends, I'll now ask the President of GASA to say a few words, make some few remarks, because we'll have to work together with the National Swimming Association. I'm quite certain that Alex will have something good, because what I know about him for sure is that while at UG, two of us were batchmates together, and two of us were the first people to write our long paper on sports. So I'll ask Alex to say a few words.
Good morning. His Excellency Dr. Barrett Jaglio, President of Guyana, Honorable Dr. Frank Anthony, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, Honorable Maniram Prashad, Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, Director of Sports, Mr. Neil Kumar, other government officials, excellencies and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. K. Jumanyasin, President of the Guyana Olympic Association, executives of other sports organizations, ladies and gentlemen. It is a distinct pleasure for me to be here this morning to represent GASA at this historic commissioning of the National Aquatic Center. It has been a long time coming. And in that time, our brimming anticipation gave way to frustration and then to despair. However, I'm happy to report that excitement and anticipation has returned to the swimming fraternity today. Guyana, as we have said ad nauseum, is the land of many waters, and many of our people, especially those who live in riverine communities and who frequent our creeks and lakes, can swim like fishes. Such recreational swimming is good for our social life, our cultural life, and also for ecotourism. Competitive swimming, however, requires standing bodies of clear water held under strict conditions and controls with a number of other technical amenities. I usually joke, to the annoyance of some of my colleagues in Gaza, that swimming has a very low barrier to entry. Just take off most of what you have on and get into the water. Nevertheless, while the barriers are relatively low for an individual who shows up at the pool, pools themselves are an enormous undertaking. This is where partnerships become important. Public, private, and NGO partnerships. The current development in swimming is one such successful partnership. Our association, GASA, is responsible inter alia for promoting and encouraging the development of swimming, master swimming, open water swimming, diving, water polo, and synchronized swimming throughout Guyana in accordance with the laws, rules, and regulations of FINA, the International Swimming Federation. And we act as the governing body of all sports disciplines under the jurisdiction of FINA in Guyana. Nevertheless, we are dependent on the state for the provision of the required facilities that remain sometimes outside of our own resources and reach. We have therefore been pleased to collaborate with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport on the development of swimming in Guyana. Indeed, there has been clear synergy between Dr. Anthony's vision for the development of swimming and GASA's development plans and current priorities. These include: 1, improving the marketing and promotion of swimming to sponsors and potential athletes. And we were just discussing at the table with the President that the fact that the pool is located where it is opens up opportunities for potential athletes in this part of the city and country that would not have been there before. 2, establishing new clubs around the country. 3, developing a schools program in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the GTU. 4, establishing a community development program. 5, developing a national elite training program. And 6, rolling out an annual signature event starting in 2012. While we have collaborated, access to adequate pool time has been the basis of tensions between our two sides repeatedly over the past year. This National Aquatic Center therefore represents a serious reset of our efforts and collaboration. In anticipation of this, we have met with the Minister of Sport and the Director of Sport, and we've hammered out and agreed to a plan for the effective utilization of the pool. The agreed pool usage plan seeks to create the framework for adequate preparation for improved performance of our swimmers, to create room for the ongoing expansion of the sport, to begin the development of the National Elite Training Program, and to develop and execute training programs for human resources such as coaches, instructors, lifeguards, water safety officers, competition officials, etc. And you should note in that list that some of the skills we will use this pool to develop have nothing to do with competitive swimming alone, but has to do with generally developing water safety in the country. In this regard, the first such FINA training course for water polo coaches will take place in December. Guyana swimmers, especially our locally based swimmers, have continued to do well internationally despite our limitations. In closing, I wish to directly address President Jaglio. Mr. President, this may be the last occasion where we share an event while you're in office. As such, I want to wish you well in your post-presidency endeavors. I was speaking with Minister Anthony and mentioning to him that sometimes the last days of the presidency are the most powerful days, because you can do things on the way out and not have to face the flak for it. In that regard, I'm hoping that when you leave here today, sir, you will take the executive action required to ensure that our accompanying warm-up, warm-down pool is constructed to complete this beautiful first-rate facility and allow for the hosting of international competitions. You see, I too, sir, have a constituency. Guyana will be hosting the Goodwill Championships in 2012. This annual developmental meet involving Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and one other invited country will serve as our dress rehearsal for the hosting of the Carifta Swimming Championships in 2013, where we expect about 19 countries to join us here in Georgetown. The addition, Mr. President, of this warm-up pool is a critical piece of our readiness for the hosting of these events. And I should mention, since Minister Prashad is here, that with 19 countries coming, we are planning at the moment for over 700 visitors in the period of those championships. On behalf of GASA, I wish to make a pledge to Guyana that our officials, our coaches, and our swimmers will make every effort to ensure that the investment in this facility is rewarded with ever-improving performances and an increase in the collection of medals, so that the golden arrowhead will be raised regularly on the decks of pools around the world. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my good friend Alex. Friends, I'm quite certain that GASA, which is one of the better administered National Sports Association, will make full use of this facility. The next speaker is no stranger to us. I'm quite certain that Dr. Anthony must be a very proud man as he stands here today, because of the fact he was at the helm from the inception. Since the idea came about, he worked assiduously with President Bharat Jagdeo to ensure this activity is a reality. He was very consistent, he was very thorough, he was very demanding. As our peers said, we had over 100 meetings. Sometimes we had meetings fortnightly, sometimes we had meetings weekly, and sometimes we had meetings 3 or 4 meetings in 1 week before this could come to a reality. Friends, I now invite Dr. Frank Anthony, the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, to make some brief remarks.
Thank you very much, Neil. His Excellency President Bharat Jagdeo, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Mr. Alfred King, my colleague of the Cabinet, Minister Maniram Prashad, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Alex Graham, the President of the Guyana Swimming Federation, other executives of the swimming fraternity, other executives of the sporting fraternity, Mr. K. A. Jamunyasin, the President of the Guyana Olympic Association, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, and indeed on behalf of the government, let me bid you a warm welcome to this historic opening of the National Aquatic Center here at Turkine. Over the last few years, as you would have heard, Guyana has made a deliberate effort at modernizing our sporting infrastructure. We have done a lot of work at the gymnasium, at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall in terms of its rehabilitation. We've also built a number of multi-purpose courts so that our children can benefit from these facilities. And of course, we resurfaced the cycling track and the motor racing track at Timeri. Distinguished guests, the National Aquatic Center is one of the other flagship programs. We are very pleased that so many of you are here this morning and would have taken the opportunity in joining us at this historic opening. As you would note, I'm not calling this facility a pool. I'm calling it the National Aquatic Center. This is because we are offering a wider range of services at this center. The National Aquatic Center will provide the following services: